Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be in San Diego, even if virtually by Zoom. And certainly it's a lot better than New York is right now. Let me start with a short invocation. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritangamaya Om Shanti. Peace, peace. So today's talk, I would like to call it the way of inquiry, the way of vichara. At the heart of Vedanta, Dvaita Vedanta, lies this method of inquiry. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk for a while, and the talk will be about what is this way of inquiry and how do we do it, and finally how is it related to other spiritual practices. So basically 3 elements in the talk, and in between there'll be a practical element also. We'll try to do it ourselves right here and see where it leads us. So 3 elements: what do I mean by inquiry, and how do we do it, and how is it related to other spiritual practices. And then we will have questions. The Swami has assured me there's going to be plenty of questions, so we have a lot of time also afterwards for Q&A. That's one thing that I like. I mean, it's always better to have a physical class, actually meet face to face, but this is a pretty good alternative, actually. I have had the opportunity of attending classes online recently, and I got used to this Zoom platform, and it was not bad. So let's make the best of it. So what is this path of inquiry? What do I mean? It's best to contrast it with what we already know and we are familiar with. There are different paradigms of spiritual life. One paradigm, you might call it the bhakti paradigm, the paradigm of devotion. So where we are told that God exists. And how do I know? Well, you don't know right now, but you take it on faith. The scriptures tell you, your tradition tells you, great spiritual teachers down the ages have told you that there is God. And so we take it on faith. And our relationship to God is one of belief, of prayer, of surrender, of worship. So this is the devotional approach. The devotional approach, which might be called the bhakti approach, is powerful, it's beautiful, it's appealing, and it's the most common one. In fact, most of the major religions of the world, certainly the theistic religions, the mainstream approach is this devotional approach, the faith-based approach. The problem with this approach is it's faith-based. If one does not have faith or enough faith or lasting faith, then one is in trouble. It won't work. There are many people who say that I don't believe that God exists. I'm not convinced that God exists. Or I might have some kind of belief in God, but when trouble comes, when problems come, when coronavirus strikes, then I lose faith in God. When in this day and age, it's an age of science and an age of criticism. So in this day and age, somebody was saying that our age is unique in the fact that at no time in human history have so many people, such large sections of society, especially in the most advanced countries of the world, have so many people been agnostic or atheistic. They generally have lost interest in religion. What kind of religion? The faith-based religion, the God-based religion, the devotional religion. So that's one paradigm. And what we're going to talk about today is not that. So I just wanted to distinguish very clearly. The second paradigm is something we are more familiar with, the experience-based paradigm. By paradigm, I mean a model of spirituality, how do we understand spirituality? So the experience-based paradigm is, no, not faith. Just as we experience this world and we are convinced that this world exists, similarly, we must experience God. Swami Vivekananda strongly propounded this and taught it when he was here in the West. If God exists, I must see God. If I have an immortal soul, then I must feel it. It's no use talking about religion. We must experience religion. So there's this experience-based model. I call this the yoga paradigm, because in the Patanjali Yoga, Raja Yoga, Swami Vivekananda's Raja Yoga, for example, that's the classic textbook of the experience-based paradigm of religion, where the promise is you don't have to believe. Here are these practices. Sit in this way, breathe in this way, visualize in this way, and practice these psychophysical exercises. And then you will have certain extraordinary experiences, mystic experiences, which will prove to you the reality of religion. Now, this is very appealing, especially in our day and age, because we always want it to be experience-based. We want it to be verified by experience and not just something that you believe in. So a lot of New Age thinking, a lot of modern approaches to religion, they have stressed experience, and it's really popular and appealing. But there's a problem. The problem with this experience-based approach is that, notice what is needed. Not our ordinary experience, not your experience of walking, talking, thinking, eating, drinking, sleeping. No, not that experience. What is needed in this experience-based approach are special experiences. I must have the vision of the deity. I must have this experience of, like an all-pervading light and bliss, something extraordinary. So that kind of experience we are chasing. So that is called the experience-based approach or the mystical approach. I call it the yoga paradigm. The problem with that, as I said, extraordinary experience, you will say, what is the problem with extraordinary experience? The problem with extraordinary experience is twofold. One is, not everybody has it. It is rare, obviously, otherwise why would you spend so much effort to get it? It is rare, it's difficult to get by. And till the point that you have it for yourself, till that point, and that might be a long, long time in coming, till that point, you're still believing something. You're still depending on faith and belief, and that these other people have experienced it, so I'll have to experience it also sometime. And till that time, I sort of believe it's real. And the second problem is a scientific problem. With extraordinary experiences, what will happen is a neuroscientist will come and tell you, yeah, I'm sure you experienced a feeling of oneness or a feeling of infinity, or you saw light or a vision of some kind of vision. These are you had some problem, neurological problem, and that's why you're getting these experiences. It doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove that you had a vision of God, means you had some kind of a hallucinatory experience. People get high and have experiences. So you had some experience similarly. Maybe you put too much pressure on your mind through your meditation experiences, practices, and you generated these things. In any case, it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove that there is really a God. It doesn't really prove that it's all one existence. No. In earlier days, they would accuse you of being mad or crazy or something like that, and seeing things. So the problem with extraordinary experiences is that difficult to come by. And second, even if you have it, it might convince you, but it might be open to skepticism. As against these two approaches, I would like to contrast it with the path of inquiry. Jnana Yoga. Today's topic is Jnana Yoga. What is this Jnana Yoga? It is not belief. It is not belief. You're not supposed to believe in this. I saw in one of the earliest sessions where the video was there on your website, Swami had put it up, somebody was asking a question to Sudhir Maharaj, that Swami Vivekananda says that, or Vedanta says the ultimate reality is one infinite Atman, and the Buddha comes and says that there is no Atman, whom to believe. Now notice, he's making a fundamental, the questionnaire is, the person who's asking the question is making a fundamentally mistaken assumption. It's not a question of belief. Neither Vedanta nor Buddhism is asking you to believe in something. They're trying to give you a paradigm in which you try to investigate it and try to understand it. It's a new way of looking at it. So if you ask whom to believe, they say, don't believe. Investigate, see for yourself. Listen to these teachings, think it through yourself, and then try to see whether it is true or not. So in the path of knowledge, or path of what I call inquiry, why I call it inquiry is the Sanskrit word vichara. Vichara, it means inquiry. It means discernment. It means probing into something with the use of reason. In the path of inquiry is not based on belief. In fact, you must not believe. You must inquire into it to see for yourself. Often, this path is confused or conflated with the path of experience, of meditation. By these things, you will see an extraordinary thing, Atman, Brahman, infinite light or something. So that's the goal, a kind of extraordinary experience. So then you see, then it reduces this paradigm into the experience paradigm, a new experience. But no, and I must stress this, that the path of inquiry is not about chasing new experiences. It's not about, you can have and you will have, but it's not about getting extraordinary experiences. It's not about it's not about having new types of experiences. Rather, the path of inquiry is a philosophical inquiry into already available experience. What experience? Just this. You're awake. Yes. That is a commonly shared experience. That much is enough. You dream. That is enough. You have experience of deep sleep, waking, dreaming, deep sleep. These something that all of us share. That's enough. You don't need anything beyond that. Now the path of inquiry will take you step by step in an inquiry into an existing experience. The experience of subject and object. You experience this world. I experience this world. This much is enough. I am the subject and this is my object. This structure is enough, and you can start your inquiry here. Now, look at yourselves. Here is a physical body, there is a pranic body, there is mind and intellect and memory. This much experience is enough. Now you can see these are all common experiences. Everybody has it. You don't have to generate new experiences. What you have to do is probe, inquire into it, and how you will do it, that's the how of it we will see. Another way of looking at it is this. Brahman, the ultimate reality which we are supposed to be, is supposed to be omnipresent, everywhere, is supposed to be eternal all the time, and is supposed to be, everything is supposed to be Brahman. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Everything that we experience is in some sense Brahman. If this is so, in that case, if it is everywhere, that ultimate reality, if it's everywhere, it must be here also. If it is all the time eternal, it must be now also. That ultimate reality must be present now also. If it is all objects, then any object I take up, this pen, for example, or this cloth, or I myself, this body, this also must be in some sense Brahman. So something that is present all the time, that is present everywhere, and that is every object. The question will arise, then why do we not experience it? See, if it was somewhere distant, Narayana is in Vaikuntha, the heaven, God is in his heaven. Why do I not see God? Well, God is in heaven, and you are not in heaven. That's why you don't see it. It's somewhere else. Or it is after death, a posthumous realization, posthumous spirituality. Why do I not see heaven or God? You can't see it while you're living. Only after death you can see it. And after death you can't complain anyway, because you're not, I won't be around for you to catch me. So after means after some time. But if it is everywhere and if it is all the time, then this kind of reasoning with this kind of excuse will not work. If you ask, if Brahman is everywhere, Brahman must be here. Yes. Why can't I experience Brahman? If Brahman is eternal, Brahman is right now also, not just after death. Yes. Then why can't I experience Brahman? Is Brahman is everything? You said everything in the universe is Brahman. Then my pet cat or the couch I'm sitting on or even this body, all of it must be in Brahman. But in what sense? How do I not experience it? Here is where Advaita Vedanta, or the path of inquiry, comes and says, so the spiritual journey, it is not really a journey in space or time or from one object to the other. It's not going from one place to another, from here to heaven, for example. No. It is not a journey in time from now to then, after death, after the second coming of Christ, or after enlightenment also, even something like after enlightenment, that after, there's no after there. Why not right now? Why not right now, right here? And not a separate object. Brahman is some extraordinary object. God is some extraordinary object which I have not seen yet. You cannot say that because you have just claimed that Brahman is everything. So you should be able to show me Brahman in this pen also. And Advaita Vedanta says, yes, we can. Right here, right now, in this pen and in everything, we should be able to realize it. Why don't we realize it? The problem is ignorance. We don't see it because we don't know what we are looking for. It's right there and openly available to us. Shankaracharya, in one very powerful text in Aparokshanubhuti, in the text, in one place he says, just as in a clay pot, so they were very big on clay pots in those days, because I think they had lots of clay pots and not much of anything else. So in a clay pot, as the clay is unmistakably, irresistibly shining forth, every bit of it is clay. So it's just obviously clay, all of it. And therefore, if exactly in the same way, Brahman is shining forth in every experience, in all that we see and hear and smell and taste and touch, in all that we think and feel and remember, all that we love or hate, all that we enjoy or we despair of, in every experience, that ultimate reality which you are is shining forth, but we don't recognize it. This not recognition is this is called ignorance. And the only antidote, remedy for ignorance is knowledge. Everywhere that's the case. I don't know physics, so enroll in a class and learn physics. I don't know your name, well, ask me, I'll tell you my name. In every case, ignorance is removed by knowledge. And so the path of inquiry says we have to seek knowledge. Not the library, going to the library and taking notes, attending classes kind of knowledge here. It's knowledge about ourselves. Why ourselves? Because Advaita Vedanta says that ultimate reality is your real self. So it should be an inquiry into ourselves. What are we? In the path of inquiry, therefore, the spiritual journey is not a journey in space. It's not a journey in time. It's not a journey from you to something else. Rather, it's a journey from ignorance to knowledge, from not knowing that reality, which is already there, right here, right now, and in everything. Not knowing that reality to knowing that reality. But immediately, knowing in what sense? So we are moving carefully. I've distinguished the path of inquiry from the other paths. Then I've shown you the path of inquiry is a movement from not knowing to knowing, to something that is always present, and we don't get it, but you have to get it. And then what kind of knowing is meant here? The Mundakopanishad, it says, Dve vidye veditavye. It says the two kinds of knowledge which are to be known, the relative and the transcendental. The relative knowledge we are all aware of. When you're seeing me, this relative knowledge. You read a book, that's relative knowledge. And what is meant by transcendental knowledge? The knowledge of our own reality. And how do you get that? This is something I will take from the text Aparokshanubhuti. All our knowledge can be classified in three ways, let's say. And this is one way of looking at it. One is pratyaksha. We know things through our senses. So right now you're seeing me. That is perception, visual perception. You can hear me. That is auditory perception. All of this is called pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means that which is known by the senses. The process is called pratyaksha, and the object which you see, the see, hear, those objects are also called pratyaksha, the vishaya, the object of knowledge. To make it simple, whatever we know through our sense organs, that's one kind of knowledge. It's called pratyaksha. But there's a lot that we know which we don't know through our sense organs. So we read books and people tell us things. So we know those things. We see documentaries and movies about other things. We do scientific experiments and calculations. We read, we are told about, heaven and hell and God. So there's a lot of things which we do not see or experience right now, but we know it. We know it indirectly. So this indirect knowledge is called paroksha. Paroksha means beyond the range of senses. So we have two categories already. One is pratyaksha, that which we know by sensory knowledge directly. There is paroksha, that which we know indirectly, which is beyond the senses. Most of science is paroksha. We have a scientific procedure. We use our sense organs to gather data, or instruments by which we gather data, and then we use the scientific procedure and hypotheses and test it, and then to derive inferential knowledge. Scientific knowledge is paroksha, but it's definitely knowledge. Strangely enough, in the same category comes religious knowledge. So something that you hear, God exists, heaven exists, good and evil exist. We don't see it, but we read about it, we are told about it, and we believe in it. That's also another kind of paroksha knowledge. Scientists would be scandalized to see a system which categorizes science and religion in the same kind of knowledge, but they're different kinds of indirect knowledge, paroksha. Why am I saying all this? The kind of knowledge that this path of inquiry is taking us towards is neither pratyaksha nor paroksha. Neither something that is known through the senses, nor something that you read about, infer about, reason it out scientifically, or believe. None of those. There is a third kind of knowledge that is called aparoksha. Aparoksha means this directly revealed. Yourself, you yourself, the existence of ourselves is directly revealed to us. What do I mean by this? Say, for example, here we are in this class, and you want to see how many people are there. I look down there and I see, oh, we have 517 participants. That's wonderful. And who is there? I can see Vikram there, and the Swami there, and Tamara is there, and so many other people are there. And I can recognize many of them. Some I do not recognize, and new faces. All of them I know. How do you know, if you ask me? I know that there are 517 participants because this little panel in Zoom is telling me. It is counted and it's telling me it's 517. I believe it. It's written evidence for me. These people are there. How do I know? I can see them. Notice, how am I gathering in knowledge? Pratyaksha and paroksha. By evidence from my senses and evidence from the instrument, by reading of the instrument. But if I ask, how do I know that I am here? Am I in this Zoom meeting or not? Am I in this Zoom meeting or not? Will I say, I see my face, so I must be in the Zoom meeting? Would I ever say that? That's crazy. You don't have to see your face in the screen to say that I am in the Zoom meeting. My own existence is revealed first. Do I have to see in the list, Zoom is counting how many people, is Swami Sarvapriyananda's name there? Let me run down the list and see, my name is there, so I must be in the meeting. Of course not. My own presence in the meeting, each of us, our own presence in the meeting, we don't depend on pratyaksha or paroksha. This is called aparoksha. My own existence is revealed to me continuously. So this aparoksha, this directly reveals self. This is what we are inquiring about. Our real self, not the world outside, not even things in heaven or hell or scientific black holes or quarks, not even that, not even this physical body, which is an object of like scientific inquiry, or you can actually see, and not even the mind, which I can watch, introspect and watch, but rather the one who is experiencing the mind, and through the mind experiencing the body, and through the body and mind experiencing the world. That one is what we are looking for. So this is the subject matter of the inquiry, in the path of inquiry. How do we know that? There are procedures. There are what you might call protocols, the ways of inquiry. One of those ways, let us all do it together. Let us try it out. This path of inquiry, you can give it a spin. Try it out. They say in a new car, take it out for a spin. So let's take it out for a spin and see how it works. Path of devotion, we all understand. Any kind of teaching in different religions, we basically have an understanding. So there will be prayer, and there will be songs, or there will be rituals. That's path of devotion. Path of meditation, experience, inner experience. Yes, you have to sit in this way. There will be some meditation technique to be performed. We know, we have seen these things. But what do you actually do in the path of inquiry? So let's try it out. One method is this. What do we have to do? The path of inquiry, you need to listen to the instructions first, number one. Number two, understand what has been said. Yeah. Notice it's already different from the path of, for example, meditation. In the path of meditation, you listen to the instructions and then start doing it. The instructor tells you, you sit in this way, you breathe in this way. There's nothing much more to understand, but you have to do it. Here, you are being told something about yourself. One must understand. In what sense understand? See it in your experience. Notice it. So this noticing, this understanding in our own experience, the second stage. And then staying with it. Third stage. In Sanskrit, they are called Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana, listening to the teachings, understanding the teachings themselves. Then Manana, reasoning it out, getting a grasp on it, and seeing it that, yes, it's true. And then the third stage is staying with the truth which you have discovered. Nididhyasana. All right. Another way I put it is, you have to ask 3 questions at these 3 stages of the path of inquiry. First is, you have to ask yourself, listening to the teacher, what did he say? What did the teacher say? Can I answer that? Then you have completed the stage of Shravana. And have I understood or heard what the teacher said? Second question is, did I get it? Do I understand it? If I do not, then there are so many questions you can ask. That's the second stage. What is it that I don't understand? Where are my doubts? Third is it real? You see, what happens is in the path of inquiry, the problem is one may listen to the teachings, and there it stops for many people. Vedanta, oh, I know, I've been attending classes for 30 years and I have got all these notebooks, and then I've got all these, recordings and audio and video. That's Shravana, but it stopped there. That's not enough. Second stage, those who advance further, they get it, they understand. But there it stops. They say that, yeah, I have attended the classes, I have read and I've thought about it, and I get it. But it all seems very intellectual. It has not really changed my life. I still have so many problems and doesn't seem real somehow. You're stopped at the second stage. So that's why the third stage is there to make what seems, if it seems theoretical, if it seems not real, just deepen that understanding with the help of third stage, Nididhyasana, which makes it real for you. This is one way of putting it. There are other ways of saying the same thing. All right, let's take it out for a spin. It goes this way. This technique is from the Drigdrishya Viveka. It says, it's one of my favorites. There are many such procedures, but this is one procedure. It goes like this. It says that forms are seen and the eyes are the seer, and the eyes are seen and the mind is the seer. The mind is seen and the witness is the seer. But for the witness, there is no seer. So that's all. Rupam Drishyam, Rupam Drishyam, Lochanam Drik, Tad Drishyam Drik tu Manasam, Drishyadhi Vrittaya Sakshi, Drigeva Natu Drishyati. This is the first verse in a small work called Drigdrishya Viveka, the analysis of the seer and the seen. You are the seer, and what you see is the seen, but you just use that much. Now, the principle we will use is the seer and the seen are 2 different things. We'll start easy. Here is a pen I'm holding up. You are seeing the pen. I'm also seeing the pen. And I am the seer and the pen is seen. Clearly, the two of us are different. They're two different entities. So the eyes are the seer in a very naive, preliminary way. And the pen is something that is seen. And the pen and the eyes are different. Note also, the same pair of eyes can see many different things. They can see the pen, they can see a notebook, they can see my hand, so many things. So the seen are many and the seer is one. All this will be useful later on. And then one more thing, the seen are changing all the time. You saw so many things just a little while ago. Now you are sitting and watching a Vedanta talk. Within an hour, you'll be seeing something else. So the seen are continuously changing, but it is the same eyes which see them. Three things. Seer and seen are different. The seer is one. The seen are many. The seer is unchanging relatively. And the seen are always changing. Three things to note. Let's go deeper. So the form is seen and the eyes are the seer. And why just form? It could be sound. The sound is heard and the ears are the hearer. And so on, all senses. Form is seen, eyes are the seer. Now, the eyes themselves, withdraw your awareness to the eyes. The eyes themselves are experienced. My eyes are open. My eyes are aching. My eyes are closed. I need glasses. The eyes, the conditions of the eyes are experienced by you. You are the seer of your own eyes. That means seer means knower. You know your own eyes. Who knows? The mind. Mind knows the eyes. So the mind now becomes the seer and the eyes are seen. Now seer here does not mean actually seeing. It means knowing. So the mind is the seer or knower and the eyes are the seen or known. Again, those three things. The seer and the seen are different. The seer is one, the seen are many. The same mind can know so many things, not just the eyes. The seer is unchanging and the seen are changing. The same mind, unchanging in the sense that mind is continuously changing, but mind is changing into mind. More thoughts and into more thoughts. But the seen are changing, so you see colors and taste and smell, the body and all the different sense organs and the sense inputs, they are changing continuously. So seer and seen are different. Seer and seen, the seer is one, the seen are many, the seer is unchanging, and the seen are changing. So the mind is the seer, and the eyes and other sense organs of the body are the seen. So here we are at the second stage. Third stage. The mind itself is seen. The mind itself is seen. You see, in what sense? Do we not know when you're feeling miserable? Yeah, of course. I'm feeling miserable. I'm down in the dumps. You know it then. Yes. That means you know the conditions of your mind. What's happening in our minds, we know it. There's no doubt about it. Burst of joy. You know it immediately. I'm happy. Coronavirus. I'm anxious. Anxiety, joy, knowledge, ignorance, remembering, forgetting, all the activities of the mind, desiring, wanting, hating, fulfillment, frustration, all the activities of the mind are clearly, directly known. By what? If they are known, if you know the conditions of your mind, the thoughts arising and bubbling in your mind, then you are the knower of the mind and the mind is the known. You are the seer and the mind is the seen. Remember, seer and seen are different. So you cannot be the mind. You are the knower of your mind. By that very fact, you must be something apart from the mind, something different from the mind. So you are the seer of your mind. Call it the witness. Just a name, Sakshi, witness. Why? Because you see the mind. You are the witness of your own mind. And the mind is continuously changing. The same witness sees the happy mind, sees the unhappy mind, sees the knowledgeable mind, sees the ignorant mind, sees the desiring mind, sees the satisfied or frustrated mind. All of them are seen, lit up, revealed by the same seer, you the witness. Whatever that witness is, we don't know yet. So the witness sees the mind. The same witness sees the many, many thoughts and feelings and perceptions in the mind. The same witness, unchanging, sees the changing mind, ever-changing mind. You say, why do you say the witness is unchanging? Well, if the witness were changing, if you see that the witness is changing, then the witness is no longer the witness. Change in the witness, if you observe it, then it becomes the observed. It's no longer witness. So the witness, by its very definition, never becomes an object to be observed. So there's no question of change in it. We don't know, it could change and we do not know it. If you cannot know it in any way, what's the use of saying it changes? So the witness is beyond change. It's by definition, it cannot change. This unchanging witness, it also must be of the nature of consciousness. Why? Because it is aware. It reveals. It reveals it to you. It reveals the mind to you. And through the mind, it reveals the body and the sense organs. Through the body, mind, body, and sense organs, it reveals the world to you. You are the witness. So it is consciousness. Clearly it exists. It is consciousness. And it is unchanging. This unchanging existence consciousness is the witness. This is the third step. One more. So this witness sounds very interesting. Can I know this witness? The last step of the inquiry says the witness is never known. It can never be an object of knowledge. By definition, if the witness becomes an object of knowledge, to whom will it be an object of knowledge? And if it becomes the object, it can never not be the witness. It cannot be the witness. So the drigeva natu drishyate, it never becomes an object of knowledge. And I cannot emphasize this enough. The reason why Advaita Vedanta seems mysterious to us is that the entirety of our experience, all the things that we have known, pratyaksha and paroksha, remember, by sense perception or indirectly, all of those are objects. This is so important. Whatever we have known in life are objects. The great philosopher David Hume, he writes in one place that in a search for a self, I found only evanescent, changing thoughts and perceptions and ideas and memories. I did not find any self anywhere. Hundreds of years before him, the author of Panchadashi, a great Advaita master in the south of India, Vidyaranya, the author of Panchadashi, it's as if he's giving a reply long before David Hume asked the question. He says that you do not see the self, not because it does not exist. You do not see the self, not because it does not exist. It's because it's not an object. Only an object can be seen. And seen by what? By the self. It is never an object. The classic, you see, the problem is like David Hume jumps to this conclusion, because I have no evidence of such a self, then the self does not exist. This permanent self does not exist. But then the question is, who is asking for this evidence? To whom will this evidence be presented? So the classic story of the 10th man, which I've told earlier, is directly relevant here. We all know the story that 10 friends went on a journey and they crossed the river. And after crossing the river, they thought, have we all crossed, or did somebody drown? Let's count. And one of them counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my God, where is the 10th person? Each of them counted, they found only 9. Obviously, they were not counting themselves. And so they started crying. The 10th person, our friend, poor friend, drowned and he's dead. And the wise person walks by and asks, why are you crying, my friends? Well, we were 10 when we started and we crossed the river, and our friend, the 10th person, drowned. And so we are crying. And this wise man must have counted, and you don't need too much wisdom for that anyway. But anyway, so he must have counted and seen that there were 10 people, and he realized their mistake. And he said, the 10th person is there, don't cry. It's just like the guru comes and tells us, Vedanta comes and tells us that the Atman is there, Brahman is there, the ultimate reality is there, don't worry. They asked, where? We don't know yet. Wait, I'll show you. Count and show me first. So they said, sir, we have already counted. No, the wise man said, you can count again. And so one of them counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I told you. And the wise man comes and takes this person's hand and turns it towards him, says, thou art the 10th. Dashamastvamasi. Thou art the 10th. And he realizes, oh, I see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Oh, yes, I am the 10th. Wonderful. And they realize the 10th person has been found. Now, we may find that silly, but actually that's pretty profound. Why did the counter not find the 10th person? The answer is because he didn't count himself. But let me ask you, why did he not count himself? Where did he expect to find the 10th person? Outside. Why outside? Because all the other 9 had been outside. So there's a logic to that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there must be the 10th person there, not there. Therefore, 10th person is missing. How would he ever know that 9 persons are outside, but this 10th fellow is eccentric, is not outside, he's right here. Similarly, all our knowledge till now has been pratyaksha or paroksha. They are all objects. Everything that we know in life is an object, except you yourself. You are not an object. It's like seeing with the eyes. When you see with the eyes, so many things you see. The table exists. Why? I see it. The pictures exist. Why? I see it. These people on the computer, they exist. Why? I see them. So things exist because I see them. That is the justification. Now, what about my eyes? I don't see them. The eyes themselves don't see themselves. He says, Swami, can't you see your own eyes in your own picture? That's a picture. That's a reflection. Just as the eyes are seeing things directly, the eyes can never see themselves directly, only in a reflection or a picture. So the eyes do not see themselves. Now, if seeing is the condition of proof, is a proof of existence, then I will say eyes do not see themselves, so I don't see my eyes. The eyes don't exist. No, the eyes do exist. In fact, it is because of those existing eyes that you're able to see anything at all. It is because if you see anything, seeing the pen is a proof of the existence of the pen. What is the proof of the existence of my eyes? Seeing what? Seeing the mobile is a proof of the existence of the mobile. Seeing the cloth is a proof of the existence of the cloth. Seeing what is a proof of the existence of the eyes? Seeing anything. It's not that you have to see the eyes to prove the existence of the eyes. They cannot be seen. Eyes cannot see themselves. But seeing anything is a proof of the existence of the eye. Now, what am I trying to say here? Any awareness, whatever you are aware of, people and flowers and smell and taste and touch and thoughts and happiness and misery, all of that awareness of anything is a proof that you are awareness. That is the proof. So awareness is revealed in every act of awareness, in every knowledge, in every sight, smell, touch, that I am awareness. This is revealed there. So this is the path of inquiry. It leads us back there. Now, apply that method. Did I hear what he said? 1. Do I get it? 2. Is it real? 3. Try it. I am seeing the pen. The pen is the scene, my eyes are the seer. The pen and the eyes are different. Did I get it? Yes. I have heard the instruction. Did I get it? Yes. Is it real? Is it a fact, or is it just some philosophical speculation? You say it's fact. All right. Here are my eyes. And with my mind, I experience my eyes. I know about my eyes. The eyes are different. My mind is different. Did I hear the instruction? Yes. Do I understand it? Yes. It's pretty simple. Is it a fact? Is it real? Is my mind really different from the eyes? Yes, it seems quite clear. Third, I am aware of the contents of my mind. Others may not be aware, but I am aware. When I look inside, I can see my thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas, memories. So I'm aware of the eyes, of the contents of my mind, and I am the witness of the mind. This is the instruction. Did you hear this? Yes. Do I get it? I hope so. Is it real? Am I really different from my mind? Here is the catch. Few people will say, yes, I am different from the mind. I am not the mind. Most people will say, I understand what you're saying, but it's still theoretical. See, we are so attached to the mind. We are so mixed up with the mind. This is where work has to start. This is where I hear the teaching, I understand the teaching, but it's not real yet. I'll be enlightened, then only I'll be apart from the mind. No, that you have to work on the understanding, which will show you that really all the time, whether you know it or not, you are not the mind. Whether you believe, whether you think about it or not, you are. I'm not. Whether I'm not this cloth. I'm different from the cloth. I know it, whether I think about it or not. Similarly, even without Vedanta, I am not the mind. I'm different from it. This is where the trouble starts, because we cling to the mind so deeply that this clarity is necessary at this space, and at this point the inquiry will begin to show us the difference between ourselves and the mind. If I'm not the mind, then what am I? Clearly something that is aware of the mind, something that is shining on the mind, that does not change with the changes of the mind. This witness self, I am. This is only the beginning, the opening theme of the path of inquiry. The next step will be, so I am this unchanging consciousness, this awareness, which is shining, ever shining on a changing mind. And through the changing mind, I'm aware of a changing body. And through the changing mind and body, I'm aware of an ever changing world. So this is my real nature. No belief necessary for this. No new mystical experience necessary for this. Just the understanding and deepening that understanding, staying with it, so that it becomes a part of our living conception of ourselves. It will automatically be reflected in your actions. You will notice that the things of the world, body, and mind do not trouble you so much anymore. You will notice there is a great sense of relaxation somewhere deep inside. The mind also relaxes when you're not so tied up with it. When you realize it's something different from you. It's an entity, it's an instrument, it's an app in the phone. It's something that you use for your practical purposes. A memory app, a perception app, a creativity app, an intellect app, an ego app. Ego is also an app. It's not you. It's something that you use for your mental functioning, which coordinates the activities of all the other apps. So this is the beginning. The next step will be this witness consciousness, which seems to be separate from everything else. What is its relationship with everything else? What is the relationship between the subject and all these objects? What is the relationship between consciousness and matter? Are they two different things, as you have just been saying? If you say that, that is called the philosophy of Sankhya. Two ultimate realities, consciousness and matter, Purusha and Prakriti. That itself is a very big step forward. We no longer think that we are flesh and blood. We no longer think that we are mental, emotional creatures. Body is there, mind and emotions are there, but we are not that. Yeah. No more than the driver is the vehicle. But Advaita is one step further. It says, notice that all these thoughts, feelings, emotions, body, external world, they appear, play around, and disappear in you, the witness. There is no proof of anything existing apart from being revealed by the witness. They appear to the witness, to you, the witness, or more precisely, they appear in you, the witness. You have to understand this. And the world appears in you. That seems so strange. How can the world appear in you? Swami, you are sitting in New York and we are in San Diego or different parts of the world. Some are in India. And how can you say, is San Diego inside you? Is the United States inside you? Is the world inside you? That's what Advaita is saying. I am reminded of somebody in the foothills of the Himalayas in Haridwar. This kind of talk was going on, that all of this is within you, the consciousness. And somebody shouted at the back of the hall, Swami, the teacher was a Swami. So, Swami, you are there and I'm here. How can I be inside you? You are there and I'm here. And the Swami immediately replied, here and there, are they not both in you, in your awareness? Think about it. It could be, suppose in a dream, you are standing in a dream, seeing a vast lake and people on the other side of the lake and the Manhattan skyline on the other side of the lake. And you wake up, you realize, oh, I see, the whole thing was in my mind. The lake and the skyline of Manhattan and the sky and the people, everything here and there. I'm on this side of the lake, they are on that side of the lake, here and there, all of that space and objects and time was all in my imagination. That happens in our dreams. Notice, that's exactly what is happening right now also. All of this is in your awareness. Where else is it except in your awareness? So here and there, are they not both in you? In you, the awareness. Where is this here and there being conceived? Well, you know why we have this feeling? Because we feel we're located in a particular body. So the body is definitely here, and your body is definitely there. And that's why we feel, I am here, you are there. But locate yourself in your mind, locate yourself in your consciousness, you will see, in my awareness, where is the body? I am aware of the body. Where? In awareness. Is there any boundary to awareness? No. I'm aware of the body in awareness. I'm aware of other people in my own awareness. I'm aware of space and time and events and causality in my awareness. So all of this is available to us in our awareness. Are there anything apart from our awareness? Advaita argues no. Your awareness, you that witness consciousness, by this extraordinary power of Maya, you are appearing to yourself as your own object. Whatever we experience in waking and in dreams, whoever we experience, including our own bodies and the bodies of others, including all objects and people and animals, whatever we experience, we ourselves are that. We are projecting ourselves to the lens of time, space, and causation, to the lens of name and form, appearing as all of these, appearing as if separate, exactly like our dream. See, everybody in your dream is you, the dreamer. That is true. Every place in the dream is you. Every object in the dream is you. Every happening in the dream is you. So everything in the dream is nothing apart from you, the dreamer. The dreamer is non-dual with respect to the dream, because in the dream, other than the dreamer, there is nothing. In awareness, other than awareness, there is nothing. Those millions of entities appear, play around, and disappear. They all must be you, the awareness. The awareness is non-dual. There's no second thing. Though it appears to be millions of things, there is no second reality apart from awareness. This is called non-duality of the self. Now, one last word. I promised I'll talk about this and in relation to other spiritual practices. What does this have to do with God or morality or meditation, all of the spiritual practices? A lot. This, what I just outlined, is one technique of the method of inquiry. But this needs support. They say in Vedanta, for the best of students, for the most qualified, rarest of rare students, this kind of instruction is enough. The person becomes enlightened. But for the rest of us, we feel, hey, there was a rather cool philosophy we learned, very nice stuff, but nothing really, it's not very practical. After all this, if somebody asks, okay, what do I have to do now? If you have to ask, what do I have to do, then it has not worked. Now comes the role of all the other practices. Very briefly, karma yoga, unselfish activity through the body for the benefit of others. Very, very useful for purifying the mind. One reason why this kind of instruction does not work is the impressions, the conditionings that we have accumulated over not only a lifetime, many lifetimes. There's a lot of dirt and dust there. So that has to be cleansed. The mirror has to be cleansed. Karma yoga is very useful. The biggest pollutant is selfishness. Why? What is selfishness? I am this limited body. I am this person, and everything else is separate from me. This is exactly the opposite of what we are talking about. This is the grossest form of duality, and we are talking about non-duality. So the selfishness is removed by unselfish action, karma yoga. Morals. Notice, all morals are a way of getting control over the body and mind, not giving in to temptation and terror, and living a life of integrity. That creates the power. Karma yoga gives us unselfishness. Then bhakti yoga. See, all our desires run towards the world. What bhakti yoga does is it takes all our passion, our desire, and directs it to God. God is nothing but this very infinite self. If you cannot think of yourself as that infinite self, but if you persist in thinking, I am this person, then that infinite self becomes God to you. That very self which we are calling the non-dual self, it becomes God, Ishvara. So devotion to God is not actually very different from this path of inquiry. Devotion to God, what it does is, it takes the power of emotion, which is scattered in the world, it takes it and channelizes it towards God. Now, with the clean mind, karma yoga, with the passionate, concentrated mind, the devotion to God, bhakti yoga, we come to meditation. The scattered mind, restless mind, unable to take this teaching, that is focused now through meditation. So you have a clean, devoted, focused mind. You bring that to the path of inquiry, enlightenment is just like that. So devotion has a role to play, morals have a role to play, and meditation has a role to play, unselfish action has a role to play. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and raja yoga. And of course, with the basis of a moral, ethical life. All of these are essential, the foundation for the path of inquiry. Um, so, so yes, just one more caveat here. All this I said from the perspective of the path of inquiry. So if you go to a teacher of, say, bhakti, so bhakti is by itself enough to attain enlightenment. That is the teaching on the path of bhakti. That's a different paradigm. If you go to the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, nowhere will it be said that this is just to focus your mind. For enlightenment, please go to Sarvapriyananda. Patanjali does not say that. Patanjali says this path of meditation is enough to give you enlightenment. Each of these paths are sufficient in themselves, but they belong to different paradigms. They have their own structure. What I said here, path of inquiry gives you enlightenment, supported by, with the foundation of devotion and unselfish action and meditation. This is the paradigm of the path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga. I hope you have questions. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. So wonderful talk. And at this point, we do want to open it up for questions. So you can ask questions in two ways. There is a button down below you. It says chat. You can type in a question and send it to me. Or if you do want to ask a question in live person, just go to your participants button there, click on participants, and you'll see on your right-hand side, on the bottom says raise hand. Click on raise hand, and then Vikram will call on you. Marge, let's start with wonderful talk. Now, a question comes to mind. As you're speaking, you've taken us all the way back to the witnessing consciousness. And the witnessing consciousness you've equated also with consciousness itself, awareness itself. The question will come, what is the relationship between the witnessing consciousness and Brahman? Are they the same? If they are the same, then does Brahman have a quality, and that quality being, it is the witness? Is there an attribute to Brahman being the witness itself? We've heard Brahman is quality-less. So help us, when you talk about witnessing consciousness, and when you talk about Brahman, help us bridge the two here. Because if you're saying that, then is the natural form of Brahman, infinite consciousness, does it have the aspect of witnessing in itself? Can you help us clarify that point?
Yes. Let me answer the second part of it first, that does Brahman have the attribute of witnessing? Notice here, witnessing is not talked about as an action. There is an action of witnessing, which you can do with your mind. Here, I'm witnessing everything. I won't talk, I won't do anything, I'm just witnessing. Or the witness in the court, the person who has witnessed a scene of a crime, that's an action. So you use your sense organs, you use your mind, you're actually doing something. Though you're not getting involved in the situation, but from a distance you're watching. And you can do it to your own mind also. So there are witnessing meditations. In Buddhism, there are awareness meditations where you practice something like this, having a global awareness of happenings in the mind, in the body, sounds, perceptions, thoughts. Those are actions. But the witness we talked about here, it's not an action. Consciousness by itself, just like light shining forth, without doing anything, it just shines. Its very nature is to shine. The nature of consciousness is to shine, and that's called the witness. That act shines upon the mind, and it reveals the activities in the mind. So activities start with the mind and the senses and the body. So Brahman as witness is not, being witness is not an activity, so it's not a quality of Brahman. Rather, it's the very nature of Brahman. In what sense? We know Brahman is existence, consciousness, bliss. So this witness is nothing but that consciousness itself, the ever shining nature of consciousness. Now, is this witness Brahman? Yes. This is the famous Advaitic equation. Atman is Brahman. This witness is us. We know that. We did this just now. Forms are the seen and I is the seer. Eyes are the seen. Mind is the seer. Mind is seen. I am the seer, the witness, the real I. We saw that I am really this witness. But in the second stage, with what we did was the entire universe, we reduced it back to I, the witness, the non-duality of the witness. They have no existence. The things we witness have no existence apart from the witness itself. That's a difficult stage to understand, but that's the second stage. So if everything in the universe has no existence apart from that witness, it isn't just an appearance in that witness. That is Brahman. Brahman is the ground of this universe. That non-dual reality, which is appearing as the universe, that non-dual reality, which is appearing as subject and object, that itself is Brahman. So this witness itself is Brahman. Only one caveat here. In traditional Vedanta, they say, when there is nothing to be witnessed, then the witness loses the name witness. Consciousness still remains as consciousness, but it's not witnessing anything. So without a thing to be witnessed, does the witness disappear? No. But the witness can no longer be called the witness. It's just consciousness shining forth.
Thank you, Maharaj. Vikram, let's go ahead and have our first live question. And will the person please state their name and where they're calling and where they're from?
Hi, Swamiji. This is the next person is Ankit Khandewal from New Jersey. Ankit, you're up.
Namaste, Swami.
Hey.
My question, I'm from New Jersey. My question is, what is the suggestion to elevate the pain and suffering of human beings using Jnana Yoga? How can we focus on positive things using Jnana Yoga, path of inquiry? What should we do to have an ideal life without stress and tension using the path of inquiry?
Correct. It's a good question. What good does Jnana Yoga do to us right now? If you want a clean conscience, a happy life, Karma Yoga will do that to you. If you live your life unselfishly, you will see it's a very free life you get. It's our own selfish motivations which prove to be a burden to us. Let go of our selfish motivations. You see, when you don't want anything for yourself, see how free you become. That's Karma Yoga, direct benefit of Karma Yoga. When I'm just translating for you something that a Swami said in Hindi to me. And then he says, if you want to be happy right now, and to be really happy consistently, then love is the way. Fall in love with God, Bhakti Yoga, and you will be immediately happy. See, people who love are happy. Only thing is when you love people or animals or something, there's always an element of uncertainty and unhappiness mixed because it's unstable and ever changing. But if you love God, if you throw your love at God, if you focus it on God in bhakti, you get the happiness of love to its maximum without the unhappiness. So there is actually a prescription for becoming happy right now, consistently, Bhakti Yoga. If you want peace of mind, absolute calmness, serenity, Raja Yoga is the way. concentration of mind and focus, and samadhi is the way. But if you want, and the Swami who told me was a Jnana Yogi, so wait for it. Here comes the Jnana Yoga. But if you want the truth, Jnana Yoga will give it to you. What am I really? So Jnana Yoga tells you you are this Atman or Brahman. How does that help you? Notice, all problems are in the world, in the body, or in the mind. Actually, all problems are there when you are identified with the body and mind. Body and mind in themselves have no problems. It's only when I think I am the body and mind, then I gather all these problems to me. So the first thing that Jnana Yoga does is it cuts the identification between you and body mind. When it cuts the identification between you and body mind, when you begin to see, I am not this body. What is the limit of the damage that coronavirus can do? The lungs, body, not me. What is the maximum harm that depression can do? It will infect mind, not me. I am the unaffected witness of the depressed mind, of the happy mind also. When you realize yourself as this unchanging light of awareness, all problems by definition drop away from you. That is the great use, the utility of Jnana Yoga. It takes you at one stroke beyond all suffering. The mind, even Jnana Yoga is in the mind after all. After all this we are doing is using the intellect and understanding. Milton said, the mind in its own place can make a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. How do you make a heaven of hell, or this life with all its struggles and unhappiness? How can you make this into heaven? See, it depends on what you focus your mind on and how much of your mind you focus there. Remember these two things. What you focus your mind on and how much of your mind you focus there. I have this physical problem, financial problem. If I keep thinking about that, what you're focusing your mind on? My problems, my physical problem, my financial problem. How much of your mind? Day and night thinking about it all the time. Then it will become hell. But you focus your mind on karma yoga, on devotion to God, on Vedantic inquiry. What are you thinking about? The reality about yourself, the most lovable ultimate reality, God, or the welfare of others. You're thinking about that. How much? Giving as much of your mind as possible to it. It will make a hell into heaven. Yeah. I think you're muted, Swami.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Marge. So we have a question from San Diego. And the question is one that you've been asked many times, but she's hoping maybe that this time when you answer it, some kernel will be enlightened. Question is, how does the unchanging Brahman, how can it give rise to so much change and diversity?
Don't think about the unchanging Brahman in contrast to the changing world, right? Then it'll be a contradiction. How can the unchanging give rise to change? It's contradictory. It cannot. However, what Advaita Vedanta says, really unchanging can give rise to apparently changing. Apparently changing and really unchanging are not contradictory. So, for example, the movie screen. So on my laptop screen right now, I can see the wallpaper. I can see so many people, hundreds of people from all over the world. So many things are happening. Your questions are coming and I'm giving an answer. I can see people moving around. I can see myself moving around. All of that. And yet in this screen, there is nothing. There are no people. There are no questions, no answers. It's just an LED, a display with light. That's it. So from that perspective, completely unchanging. And yet from one perspective, it's full of change and extraordinary things are happening on it. A movie, so many dramatic things happen, a tragedy, a comedy, a war story, an action story. So many things are happening on a movie screen. And yet what is happening on the screen? Nothing. Why? How can two contradictory things happening and not happening exist together? Because one is real, not happening. And the other one is an appearance, happening. Reality and appearance can exist together. They are not contradictory. But two contradictory realities cannot exist together. A real rope and a false snake can exist together. But a real rope cannot be a real snake at the same time. Right? So a desert cannot exist. A dry desert and water cannot exist together. But a dry desert and mirage, which looks like water, can exist together. Similarly, the absolute reality, Brahman, beyond any possibility of change, and the ever-changing world, they can exist together because one of them is real, the other is not. Brahman is real, and its appearance is not.
Thank you, Maharaj. Okay, we'll go back to a live question. Vikram?
The next question is from Richa, who's calling from Atlanta. Richa, you're up.
I can't see Swamiji.
You can't see me?
Yeah, now it's good. Pranam. I wanted to ask you that when we feel the difference between me and real me, and we are quite in distance with it. So after a point, I do see that the world appear, like you said, in me. But in that case also, I do see things distinct to me. So, for example, if I see this screen that I'm seeing in me,
Yes.
I still see that the screen is in me. So there is a screen, and then there is me, which is beyond this body and
Right.
this mind. So is it to disappear on its own, or if I were to say,
Yes.
will it come, will it shine like the awareness did all of a sudden, saying that I'm not this body and mind? Or do I have to reason it out and every time say that this is also me, or this is also a manifestation through me, and then it will go? I mean, how does it happen?
First, understand, it's a good question. First, understand it in the dream example. So, suppose you are seeing another person in a dream. Now, after waking up, when you look back upon that experience of the dream, would you say, number one, that the person appeared to you? Yes. The person appeared in you because it was in your mind, right? You say yes. But in that appearance also, there was your mind which was dreaming, and in the mind itself, there was the name and form and activity of a person. But that name and form and activity of that person in your mind in the dream, what was that person made of? If I say, was that person made of flesh and blood and DNA and all, or was that person made of thought and imagination? Are you muted? Yes. So that person was
Okay.
right. The person was made of thought.
Yeah, imagination and thought.
Yes. But what did it look like? A person.
Real. Yeah.
What did it act like? Person. Right? And in the dream, you can shake hands with that person. You can hear that person. You can see that person. And yet it is thought. And that's our common experience in a dream. Even on a movie screen, there are persons and cars and buildings and sky and spaceships. But what are they all made of? Are the cars made of metal? Are the buildings made of concrete? No, they're all made of light. But the names and form, they still appear. Now, here's the question. When you say that this screen and this person appears to me in the awareness, I'm the awareness, if I can shift from body of consciousness to awareness, my identity is with awareness, I am awareness, and in my awareness, all of them appear. You see, there's still a screen, there's still a person, but ask yourself, what is that screen made of? Right now, you'll say screen is made of metal and plastic and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yes. But from an awareness perspective, you will notice it cannot be anything other than awareness. Even the metal and the plastic is appearing to you in awareness. Is it anything other than awareness? If it was other than awareness, it would not be in awareness. It should be outside. There can be nothing outside awareness because you would not experience it at all. So on a transactional level, yes, things are made of concrete and sand, and human beings and animals are made of flesh and blood. But from an awareness perspective, everything is made of awareness. Even made, the word let the word go. You cannot make awareness into something. You cannot manufacture awareness into anything. Awareness appears as its objects, and you are that awareness. In fact, Advaita goes so far as to say everything that you experience is made of you. Which you? Not the person, Richa,
Really,
the
yes.
awareness, Richa. Is this making sense?
Yes.
First, it has to make sense intellectually.
Yes, it does. But Swamiji, what I experience is that I have to reason it out again and again for that to leave a mark. Like even if it is a small object, it doesn't that screen between.
Correct. You are right.
It still appears to be different.
You are right. And
When I
is,
reason it for that moment it appears as awareness, but then it just goes on.
And that is very natural. If it was so simple and direct, what you are all saying is already pretty far along the path. It shows a clarity of understanding. And that's what you must do for the time being. When will you do it? Anytime you feel like it, especially when there's a problem. When there's a problem, unpleasant, somebody behaves unpleasantly towards you, or there is a pain in the body, or there is a thought, unhappy thought in the mind. Dissolve these things into awareness. You know how. You already know how. It's just a change in the paradigm. You don't have to go and catch the person and dip him into awareness or something like that. You know that in my awareness, this person has arisen. In my body, this person's body, this person's behavior, none of that it can exist or even be known without awareness. Every bit of it is made by that awareness. And what is that awareness? I myself. That I awareness, which through the mind and body of Richa now is behaving, acting as Richa, is through the mind and body of so many other people. I am acting and behaving as so many other people. You will see it will give you a lot of peace. It will give you a stability. When you think like that, the mind itself will become calm. That mind cannot really hate. You might get irritated at people. It cannot really hate anybody. It cannot be tempted or terrified by anything in the world. And maybe it's not so easy at first, but this is, you're on the right path. What you are saying, this is called Nididhyasana. Vedantic meditation in action, not just sitting quietly with eyes closed, eyes open, seeing the object, dealing with people, and mentally using the light of your understanding mentally to dissolve them into awareness in your understanding. Don't say that, will scare people that she goes around dissolving people into awareness. Okay, that's very good.
Thank you, Maharaj. There's a question from Rita who asked, it is said that the only antidote to ignorance is knowledge. However, is there not a role for action? Isn't some action necessary to strive for from unethical behavior to ethical behavior? For example, even after committing to a path of inquiry, deep-seated desires and subsequent frustration and anger arise from thwarted desires, and they continue. Thus, we find ourselves not fully aligned to Satchitananda. What is the solution?
Very good question. And yes, you must have seen it in the last part of my talk. Ethical and moral life is foundational for any kind of spirituality, whether it's a devotional path, a dualistic path, a path of meditation, whichever path you take up. Know that all these paths are actually advanced practices. The foundational practice is an ethical and moral life. Now, ethical moral life has also a spectrum. One, we may not be ethically perfect to begin with, but that struggle must be there. I must not hurt others. First of all, physically. Second, verbally. Third, even emotionally. I must not hurt others. I must be honest. What I think and what I say and do must be in harmony. I must be self-controlled, not easily swayed by temptations in the world. So I have a certain discipline of body and discipline of speech and discipline of mind. So these things, ahimsa, satya, ahimsa is non-violence, satya, truth, and this discipline which is yama, niyama, lot of all these practices are there. So they are essential for spiritual life. If we do not do that, and most of us, we are work in progress. We are developing slowly. That's why what happens is, if you come straight to the Advaitic, the path of inquiry, and we stay with it, and we begin to get it, we do begin to get it, then what happens is these questions arise. It's still a struggle in my day-to-day life, still not making a big difference to my day-to-day life. If we had taken the progressive path of gradual purification of the mind through karma yoga, deep devotion to God, dispassion towards the world, and regular meditation, these problems would have been much, much less if you had come to path of inquiry after that. Right. So, but there's no problem. If you come to the path of inquiry, you're beginning to get it. Now, what you have to do is bring the other parts of your life, our lives, our ethical life, our physical life, our emotional life, mental and intellectual life, in tune with this non-dual understanding, this path of inquiry. Each of us know what has to be done. Actually, it's easier now. It's like seeing the final goal, getting a clarity about that, then bringing the rest of your life into alignment with that. In Advaita, they'll say that even if you get a breakthrough, Aham Brahmasmi, I realize that intellectually and actually feel that, I'm convinced about it. So am I an enlightened person, Jivan Mukta? No. Until my emotional, mental, physical life, ethical life has been brought into tune, or until it expresses that non-dual truth. Sri Ramakrishna always said, this is a part of our tradition, is that spirituality also must be manifested. That's why Swami Vivekananda defined religion as the manifestation of the divinity within each of us. Not just knowledge of the divinity, not just knowing that divinity, or not just intuitively understanding the divinity, also manifesting it. Why should it be different? It's different because body and mind, especially the mind, because of years and lifetimes of conditioning, will offer resistance. Remember, mind is part of Prakriti, part of Maya. So if you have realized your real nature, now that light has to shine through the body-mind complex. And the body-mind complex, if it has been purified and disciplined over years of sadhana, that shining through will be easy. If it has not been disciplined, not enough at least, that understanding will be weak and the shining through will be crowded. Yeah. You're still muted, Swami.
Maharaj, let me further follow up on this. At this point in time, you see that most people are sort of locked up in their houses. So the result is now, more than ever, I feel that people are having to face their own issues that they never had to face before. Before they used to, the difficulties that arose, they would go to movies or go to parties and offset that energy. Now that you're at home and you're sort of locked up here, you're having to face your own self. You're having to face your own difficulties, your own struggles. And these are coming up stronger and stronger and stronger. That's why domestic violence is on the rise. That's why so many people are getting addictions. Addictions are coming back. There's strong emotional turmoils that are rising as a result of staying home and not able to diffuse that energy. What is your suggestion right now as we start to become more aware that our partner is causing us irritation? We start to become aware that these different, what we call inner demons, are rising within us. How would you tackle this at this current time in the situation that we are in?
I think this is where the monastic experience becomes a common experience. So monks are used to living alone in ashrams, in caves, or at the most in monastic communities. And there's a certain discipline imposed by that kind of existence, whether in a community or alone by yourself, because there all the other diversions are not available to you by your own choice. Now, what monks do, some of that learning can be transferred to everybody who is facing a kind of forced monastic situation sometimes. Here is one principle. This comes more from Sankhya than from Advaita. The three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva is serenity, holiness, calmness, purity, light. Rajas is dynamism, desire, anger, activity. Tamas is darkness, depression, blindness, heaviness, illness. Now, they're always in dynamic motion, these three. The principle to understand here is spirituality, peace, and joy are possible in sattva. So rajas, the principle of activity and energy, has to be disciplined and sublimated into sattva. If it is not done, what will happen is it will sink back into tamas. What has happened right now is when you're confined, when your choices are limited. What the virus and social distancing and lockdown has done is our choices are now limited. You cannot go out easily. There's a threat. And there is places you cannot go to. The job which used to attract your energy and absorb your energy, you don't do it outside your house anymore. Many things are there. And you're in cramped quarters, especially here in Manhattan. Everybody is a tiny place to live. And so they're saying, for the first time, husband and wife and kids and the dog and everybody together 24 hours a day, which was not there earlier at all. People would go to their own job, school, or whatever. And they tend to get on each other's nerves very fast. So there, when your choices are limited, the rajas does not get an expression. So the tendency is for rajas to sink back into tamas, into addiction, into depression, into laziness, into a kind of blind obstinacy and hitting out at people. So it must be channeled upwards. One useful thing is a routine. What we monks do, we try to follow a routine. Even when you're staying alone in the mountaintops by yourself, nobody to watch you, and nobody's going to scold you if you don't get up early in the morning, but you still do, only for your own happiness and peace of mind. A routine with the components of meditation, devotion, spiritual inquiry, japa, and service. Thinking less about yourself and trying to be of use. If you just stay out of the way of others, that's also being of service to others. So yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Wonderful answer. Vikram, let's have our next live question.
The next question will be from Balaji, who's joining us from Kuala Lumpur. Balaji?
Namaste, Swami. I study quantum physics, also practice Buddhist Vipassana meditation, and I follow Vedanta. Though I don't see much of the differences in understanding the world from these three things, physics and Vipassana, I feel they miss the self. Is it because of the approach? Just wanted to get some thoughts on this one. Thank you.
Yeah, Balaji, what's the time there in Kuala Lumpur?
It's morning, 10:30 a.m.
Or 10:30 a.m. It's
I'm from Bangalore, but working in
Yeah, it's just 12 hours. New York, it's 10:35 now at night.
Yeah, we are already on the Buddhist Vesak day today. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Yes, so I don't know much about quantum mechanics, although many people who are interested in Vedanta and have studied physics, they say there's a lot of similarity there and a lot of echoes, at least. If they're not the same thing, at least they seem to echo each other a lot. So that's there. I'll just say this much. And yeah, as you have said, it's the difference in paradigms. Vipassana is based on a Buddhist paradigm, and quantum mechanics is, of course, modern physics. Have you heard of Brian Greene? He's a very well-known cosmologist at Columbia here. He's written Elegant Universe. He is part of these documentaries. Yeah. So he wrote this new book. I think Till the End of Time or something. That's his latest publication. And he was at Harvard a few months ago to release the book before the lockdown happened. And I attended that book talk. I mean, it's amazing to see a community which is devoted to knowledge. 500 people packing an auditorium just to listen to a book launch, So he said He was very happy to see me. Why? His elder brother became a Hare Krishna monk. And they used to have debates. But of course, the ISKCON, it's a dualistic system. So it's not particularly compatible with quantum mechanics. They used to have debates. And he said, in fact, in the book also he's written that what you find in the Vedas, he actually mentions that, can be seen as a poetic echo of what we find in I think that's the limit he's willing to go to, not more than that. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. Yes. You are muted. I think you are muted, Swami.
Oh.
No, you're still muted.
Okay, sorry, Vikram, let's go to the next live question.
Next question is from Gloria. I'm not quite sure where Gloria is joining us from. Gloria, could you please introduce where you're joining us from and your question for Swamiji, please?
Yes, I'm calling from Adelaide in South Australia. And I think that Swami might have already answered some of these, this question, but what I'm asking is the main practice then to develop the ability to remain in the witness position in all situations, to identify with the witness position, and does that then develop sattva?
All right, that's a good question. I would say directly yes, but with certain caveats. It's not to remain in the witness position. Rather, first of all, realize that you are the witness. Like, for example, Gloria, you don't have to remain in the Gloria position. It's so natural to you that you don't say that I'm practicing being Gloria. You never say that. It's naturally available to you. You don't even think that my name is Gloria. Just somebody asks you, what's your name? Oh, I'm Gloria. It's naturally available to you right there. So it's available whenever you want it. It's not a practice. And this witness, it's not a state to be practiced. You're already that. All you need to do is make the breakthrough to realize what is it that I am. And when you get that flash, intuitive flash, you will notice it's been done. You will notice when it is effortlessly available to you. Effortlessly available to you, not because of long practice. It's because of that sudden, instantaneous insight, after which nobody and nothing can take you away from that. You know, everything in life tells you that you are the witness once you make that breakthrough. Otherwise, what happens is the mind seems to think of that witness as a practice. If you practice being a witness, you're asking for trouble. Because what will happen is, it's like a meditation exercise. Somebody said it's like the spring. If you sit on it, it's pressed down. The moment you get up, it springs up again. So similarly, I practice distancing, a kind of mental social distancing, distancing myself from my thoughts and emotions. And I say, oh, it's a thing, it's an object, I'm the witness. If I practice that, the moment I stop practicing it, they'll come upon me and grab me again. It's not a practice. For the time being, it's good to think about it that way, but that breakthrough must come and see clearly that they are not me and I am not them. So that which is not you, don't take that to be yourself. And the properties of that which is not you, sorrow, depression, elation, desire, these are properties of the mind. They are not me. Don't make them my property. I am consciousness. And what is my nature, consciousness, don't make that the property of the mind. The mind is aware and conscious. It is not. It's an object to you. I am the only thing that is aware and conscious. And I shine upon the mind. So these two things. One is what I am not, don't take that to be myself. And the properties of that which I am not, don't take that to be my properties. What is my nature, don't lend that to things which are not me. I'm not sure if I'm Let's put it this way. It's not a practice. It's more like being Gloria.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any more questions? Okay, thank you so much. So Marge, there's another question that popped up on the screen, and that is, you mentioned that for the path of inquiry, we need karma yoga, bhakti yoga, moral and ethical life, and meditation as a preparation. And you also said that enlightenment is possible just through bhakti yoga also. What is the difference between achieving enlightenment through Jnana yoga versus bhakti yoga? Are the goals the same? And is the experience also the same or different? We need to, Vic, we need to unmute the current person.
Who is the person who asked?
Okay, no, I just wanted your face on the screen.
So, okay.
This is Swati had asked this question.
All right.
It's a good question, Mark. So that
right. And it's not just bhakti yoga. What I was trying to say is all of these paths, if you look at the texts of bhakti, they will never say that they are preparatory to knowledge, the preparatory exercises for ultimately it has to come through the path of knowledge. No, they will say whatever has to be achieved can be achieved through bhakti, through devotion and love. If you look at the texts of meditation, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, at no point will they say that what we are teaching here is secondary. It's sort of second fiddle to the path of knowledge. No, they will say the path of meditation is enough to take you to enlightenment. So each of these, they claim to be standalone paths, but what I said was the paradigms are different. The knowledge paradigm is a different model, different paradigm of spirituality. Devotion, belief, faith is a different paradigm of spirituality. Is it real? Does it work? Of course it does. Of course it does. And it is helpful in the path of knowledge, but it's not central. Somebody asked me, but after all of this, can we say that, can I follow the path of knowledge without believing in God? Yes, you can. You can follow the path of knowledge with believing in God, but you can't follow the path of theistic religious faiths, the bhakti path without believing in God. That is absolutely central for the path of devotion. You begin with faith. If you begin with doubt in, say, a devotional path, you cannot progress. You begin with faith there. Do they lead to the same goal? We are followers of Sri Ramakrishna, and we will say, yes, they do. All of them ultimately lead to the same goal, that goal being infinite in its nature. You can realize it as Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss, or you can realize it as Vishnu, or the Father in heaven, or Allah, or the Tao, or whatever you want to call it. You can, through love and devotion, through meditation, through knowledge, Sri Ramakrishna said they all lead to the same goal, the same pool of water. He gave the example of the Hindus calling it jal, and the Muslims calling it pani, and the Christians, so they call it, he said, aqua. I don't think anybody ever called it aqua. They must have called it water. Different names for the same reality. Though I can see all my professors at the Divinity School, their eyebrows will be shooting up to their head.
How do you reconcile then when a person wants to, you have Krishna devotees who all they want to do is be in the presence of Sri Krishna?
Yes.
Or you even have Ramakrishna devotees, they want to be in Ramakrishna Loka. How do you reconcile if the goal is the same, how do you reconcile the experience of that goal being different? At least, how do you reconcile this? If you're saying you have the infinite Brahman, that's you're experiencing the one infinite nature, and now you have one who wants to experience the presence of God and live with God, and how do you reconcile these?
Correct. It's because that the ultimate reality is infinite in its nature. It can appear to you as an impersonal reality in the identity, I am Brahman. That is the nature of that ultimate reality. But also, if you choose to draw a layer of difference between yourself and that ultimate reality, the difference is already there. We feel it right now. I mean, however much high Advaita metaphysics we talk about, we still feel like persons. So that ultimate reality is God to the person. And if you take that path, then it appears as God to you, and a personal God. And different, depending upon your culture and your tradition, it could be Krishna, it could be Shiva, it could be Devi, the Divine Mother. In many, many forms in different religions. Are they true? They are, because it's the same light shining through all these names and forms. Yeah. The formless can also be with form. I mean, some people say God is without form. How can you, the Hindus, you worship you God with form. And so I always ask such people, are you with form or without form? As a body, you are with form, very clearly so. But even your mind, is it with a form? It's not with a physical form, at least. And beyond the mind, you, the formless awareness, clearly without form. So even you as an individual, when you are manifested as an individual, the formless takes a form. If you can take a form, can't God take a form? Is God less powerful than you? Sure. Obviously. So multiple forms are there, but God is also definitely formless. Yeah.
Thank you, Marge. Let's have our next live question. Vikram?
The next question is from Pepe, joining us from Guadalajara. Pepe?
Hi.
Hey, hello.
Pranam, Swamiji.
Namaskar.
My question is, Jnana Yoga, this path, and you were saying about making a distinction from this stula sharira, this mind-body complex, right? And I can think about another experience which makes you just cut that, which is death. You automatically lose your stula sarira, right? Yes. And you keep your mind. Yes. You keep your... So what happens there? Are we still in the thinking process? Are we still thinking? And if it's so, if we're not attached to the body anymore, shouldn't it be so much quicker and easier to evolve into enlightenment?
Right. The question is that you're talking about seeing yourself as different from the physical body, the stula sharira. And there's a physical body, stula sharira, and there's a mental body, sukshma sharira. And beyond that, a causal body, karana sharira. Correct. Now at death, obviously we lose the physical body. So what happens? And without the encumbrance of a physical body, wouldn't it be easier to be more spiritual, more... Not really. You don't have to wait for death. Every day in the night, when you go to sleep, you lose contact. Your stream of awareness loses contact with the physical body. It's still there, but it's not part of your awareness anymore. You start dreaming. And then you have deep sleep. And then you come back into the waking experience with contact with the physical body. Now, death, depending on our past karma, could be something like that. Notice, in our dreams, we have a great degree of freedom because we are not constrained by the physical world anymore. And yet our dreams are not all pleasant. We have nightmares, we have terrible experiences, we have confusion and alarm in the dream. It's produced, we are almost helpless in the dream. It's very difficult to actually construct a virtual world to your liking. It comes up from our own samskaras and conditioning. Similarly, after death also, all that we have generated in past lives and in this life, that will generate a series of experiences. The fact that we don't have a physical body will not make much of a difference. We'll still have, it's like being in a virtual environment. And that could be pleasant, that could be unpleasant. Those who have done a lot of spiritual practice, mantra recitation, meditation, deep devotion. So the mind is perfumed, conditioned by the love of God, by concentration. Then those things will come into play after death also. So you will feel, it will be a much more elevated experience. So you don't have to wait for death. Even here itself, every night also we go through similar experiences.
Thank you. Vikram, let's have our next live question.
Next question is from Siva. I think Siva's joining us from Illinois from memory.
Yeah. Pranam Maharaj.
Yes, yes.
Maharaj, my question is, you mentioned that Bhakti Yoga will help in Gnana Yoga. So my question is, how can Gnana Yoga help in the path of Bhakti Yoga? For example, you also mentioned that like through Bhakti Yoga, we can get happiness immediately. So that is true, but that may not be the ultimate happiness. So how can Gnana Yoga help to know that this is not the ultimate happiness, and how can it help to achieve that?
You know, one teacher of Jnana, Advaita teacher, he said, Bhakti is very useful for Advaita. And Advaita is not necessary for Bhakti. So, by the path of Bhakti, by devotion to God, see, there you are depending on something. You're no longer depending on yourself. You're depending on something very powerful. But you need to surrender there and hold on to that till the end of this life. So, Bhakti Yoga, standalone. And Jnana Yoga benefits from the support of Bhakti. But I will say, I have seen in my own experience, many people, young people today, people who wanted to be spiritual, but were not able to believe in these things, in this modern, educated in science and technology. They were attracted by the teachings of Advaita, began to get an interest, and they were able to believe in spirituality because of Advaita. And through Advaita, they came to Bhakti. That I've seen in many cases. That is at the beginner level. By the intellectual appreciation of Advaita, one begins, that objection to Bhakti goes away. See, what Advaita does is, it tells you that the God you believe in is a real God. It's not just a case of like thinking or believing. People have told you sentimentally you're believing. No, clearly I know what I'm believing in. So Jnana helps Bhakti that way, at least that way. In our Ramakrishna order, we follow what is called Jnana Mishrita Bhakti, devotion and knowledge combined. Of course, with the help of yoga and also selfless activity. It's a very safe and wholesome path, which uses your cognitive powers, the thinking, your affective powers, that is the emotion, and that is bhakti, and cognitive power, the power of will, action. And all of them are put into spiritual practice.
Thank you, Mark.
One more thing, I'll tell you, one great Advaita teacher, very staunch non-dualist. He was asked, somebody asked him the question, which is greater, bhakti or jnana? Remember, he's a non-dualist. In Hindi, somebody asked, kaun badi hai, bhakti, jnana ya bhakti? Immediately he replied, bhakti is greater, love is greater. The others were puzzled. So what about knowledge? What about jnana? He said, bhakti is greater. What about jnana, knowledge? Oh, in jnana, in knowledge, there is no greater or lesser. In Hindi, he said, kaun badi hai, bhakti ya jnana? Bhakti badi hai. So jnana kya hai? What is jnana then? और ज्ञान में बड़ा छोटा नहीं होता है. in jnana. So you see, very beautifully reconciled both.
Thank you, Marge. Let's go to another live question, Vikram.
This question is from Rohit, who's joining us from Pennsylvania.
Pranam Maharaj. My question is, so I began my spiritual and Vedanta journey a few months ago out of intellectual curiosity. So it's really, I found Advaita really like intellectually fascinating. So now after a few months, that fascination or the honeymoon phase is sort of over. And normally what happens in this situation with my mind is I move on to like another interesting subject. My question is, how can I continue my spiritual journey despite my mind feeling apparently like intellectually satisfied with the concepts of Vedanta?
Okay, straight answer to that. Pick up a regular practice. It need not be a regular investigation into Vedanta, listening to talks and reading books. Simplest direct answer is take mantra diksha from, I think, where are you?
I'm in Pennsylvania, but I go to the Pittsburgh ashrama.
Yeah. So the next time a Swami who gives Mantra Diksha comes, take Mantra Diksha. What will happen is it gives you a daily practice. It could be in any tradition. I mean, like, it could be in our tradition. It could be any tradition. It gives you a daily practice. So that practice is not conditional on the interests of your mind. It doesn't depend on the mood. A little bit of that practice you can do all the time. Once it becomes a part of your routine, you will sort of, it'll be a habit. You will not feel good if you don't do it. Now, what happens is that helps you to maintain a baseline. It's not that your life, you will move ahead and forget this and go on in life. You may go on to other things, but this is so powerful, this interest in Vedanta, it will come back again. If you hold on to it now, if you maintain it at a minimum baseline also, it is very good. If you do not hold on to it, if you move on to other things also, you will notice, you will come back to it. Ultimately, life is about spirituality. So all the other pursuits in life, they're all in line leading you up to this. If you've come to it and then you wander away from it, know it for certain, you will return to it 5 years now, 50 years from now. If you're lucky, you will continue with it at some level or the other. If you continue with it at some level or the other, then you will see interest will increase, again decrease and increase, but you will never let go of it. One good way is taking Mantra Diksha so that you have a regular practice.
Thank you so much, Vikram. Let's have another question, a live question.
The next question is from Nishta, please. Nishta?
Swamiji, thank you so much for staying late to accommodate us in California. That's wonderful.
Where are you calling from?
From Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sorry.
No, take your time.
I wanted to find out. I lost my mother 3 weeks ago, and I wanted to find out. You know, within Hinduism, they say you leave your body and the soul goes forward. So I wanted to know: is there a way to tell that she's okay wherever she is?
Yes, I'm sorry to hear that. And this is a time of mourning, you know. I've been seeing this in New York on the rare times when I go outside. In this city, this is usually so busy and full of life. There is a stillness and a kind of sad stillness to this city right now. And Central Park is nearby. And this it's so beautiful right now. And yet there is a deep sadness to this beauty. Thousands of people dying and terrible suffering and struggle. Yes. And yet this is the time for spirituality. Somebody asked me, so at this time, are we supposed to think about Vedanta? Yes, this is the time when life confronts us with its deepest realities. Birth and death, old age and disease, sorrow and loss. You see what Nishta is going through now. A lot of people are going through, and all of us, we have to face it one day or the other in life. Near and dear ones, beloved ones passing away, our own old age and imminent death. Everybody has to face it. The only difference is right now, because of the pandemic, large numbers of people are facing it together, so it's in the public consciousness. Otherwise, individually, we have to struggle with our personal tragedies. Well, the rest of society goes on. But now the whole of society has come to a standstill because of this. It's a fundamental question. Not only in Hinduism, in every religion, death is not the end. The different theologies, different ways of describing it, but death is not the end. Your mother is still there and going forward in her life, in spiritual life. You know, if I were in your position, I would know mother is all right because she is in the care of the most powerful being in the universe, which is God. The one who loves your mother much more than you can ever think of loving her also. And it's true, it's not a fantasy. God exists, God loves and protects your mother. And God is her only companion from lifetime to lifetime. You can pray to God to take care of her for her welfare. It helps. So directly trying to access the person who has moved forward, not necessary. It disturbs them. Don't try to do that. Send your prayers, pray to the Lord for her welfare, for her future life, for her spiritual development. May she have peace and joy in life. I also pray for your mother. So yes, know that just as God takes care of your mother, takes care of you. Somebody said, God has no grandchildren. God has no grandchildren, means we are all children of God. So your mother is also God's daughter, you are also God's daughter. Know that.
Thank you, Maharaj. I think at this point, I know it's 11 o'clock for you now, and you've had a long day. So I want to thank everyone. Swamiji, thank you for this wonderful experience. Just to talking about, in sense of the last question about people passing away and our own relatives, this issue is going to be addressed. We're going to have a retreat on June 6th through Zoom, where we're going to have a Swami Sarvapriyananda, we have a Dr. Sheila Patel, and another person, a lawyer, talking about what to do when someone passes away. How do you prepare for your own death? And if someone you love passes away, what can you do for them? What should you do? What type of prayers can you do? What should I do? Cremation or funeral? Where do I put the ashes? So a lot of these points are going to be addressed on, if you go to, on June 6th, where we're going to have a sort of a webinar on this death and dying and what to do when our loved ones pass away. Just a few announcements before we close off. One is that this Saturday at 7 a.m. West Coast time, Pacific Coast time. So one of the practices we're doing here, we have a group guided worship where we're doing a group where you can follow along and actually do the puja yourself. And Swami Sarvapriyananda ends the worship with a group guided meditation. And his meditation is going to be on the meditation of Sri Ramakrishna. And it's going to be through visualization, opening your eyes, looking at the form, closing your eyes, capturing the form into your heart. So if you have any interest in meditation, and if specifically looking at the image of Sri Ramakrishna or any divine being, how to capture that image into your heart through looking at photographs, you may be interested in that. That it begins at 7 a.m. and will go on till 8:30 a.m. this Saturday. If you go to the website, you'll see the link, and there's no password. Just go to the link and you can join in on that as well. Final note is that Swami Atmarupanandaji, who was there last week, will be doing the next course on Wednesday, and I believe his topic is on Raja Yoga, through the path that Swami was talking about. Swamiji was talking about it through the path of willpower, conative, right, Marge? Conative. Yeah, through the path of will. Swamiji was talking about how can we still the mind and also uncover that reality that is always there. So, Marge, what a beautiful experience. Thank you everyone for coming. Marge, I'd like to have you please close off with the chant and just send your blessings to all of us.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Out of that infinite, this infinite has come. Taking this infinite out of that infinite, the infinite alone remains. Om, peace, peace, peace.